I guess we can get going. First off, appreciate you doing this. I think first time we did is what,
It's been like
3 years?
about
Two and a
2022.
half,
Yeah,
two and a half,
2022
two and a
was
half.
with Jake.
Yeah, it's Jake, and he's in Australia
He's
now.
back in Australia.
Um, I guess I kind of wanted to go through the years and like the process with you. I know you've dealt with a lot of like injuries. You've been in Jupiter for a while now. I feel
Yeah,
like you're getting used to the area. Can you kind of talk about that process for you and everything?
yeah. I feel like the hardest part for me has just been playing in the games.
Yeah,
Um, I've kind of had like when I first came in, pitched one inning my first half season.
yeah,
Um, and kind of just like came in late from the draft and then just built up through a couple lives through an inning,
mm-hmm.
and then it came in the next year. Um, Kind of like tweaked the form a little bit, and then got to pitch quite a bit at the end of
Yeah,
the season, which was fun, and then did well, which is also really
yeah,
promising. And then this past year, kind of just struggled finding out why my arm wasn't feeling as good, and then ended up doing a surgery at the end of
mm-hmm.
the season, the ulnar nerve transposition, and so it's been tough, man. And because I know, like, once I get out on the game, like
Yeah.
out in the field, like I believe that I can
No,
I
yeah.
can pitch, and my abilities aren't the thing that's holding me back right now. I think
Yeah, because
it's
whenever you go out there, you're like the ERA and everything, it's
yeah,
all low. I mean, you pitched 3 innings, 3 good innings, and then you had another little minor thing, right? You're on the DL right now, or
yeah.
no?
It's not like I'm in the 7 day right now, so
Yeah,
just like something small that we're trying to figure out.
just like
But
working through it.
yeah, exactly. And so just and honestly, trying to be smart about it too, not trying to make any matters worse.
Is it?
Um,
What's like the mindset? I mean, obviously it's probably hard because you've been here for a while and you want to pitch, but you just can't. Does that affect? How
yeah,
does that affect like the mental? And how do you stay positive and
it is
everything?
hard, man. The mental part's the toughest
Yeah,
part because coming off rehab, I think one thing that I didn't do well was just trust my arm again,
yeah,
and that's like and
yeah,
anybody who's ever been through
yeah.
an injury, um, or just even like a small tweak in something, it's just so hard to be like, all right,
Because you don't
I'm
know
gonna,
what it feels like to be right at
yeah,
times, and then you're like, "Is this right?" And
and
then you're worried about,
you're trying to
yeah,
guard it
yeah,
and everything. I did a lot of that.
and that hurts it honestly. When you
Yeah,
guard, yeah,
yeah, and so then it's like you're compensating, you're trying to do more with this, and then you're just not throwing the baseball like you're meant to throw the baseball,
yeah,
and it's like it's pretty unnatural
yeah.
thing to do, and so you want to do it as natural as possible to prevent as many more injuries in the future.
And I feel like like, it's not like you're coming just out of college. Like you're still 21. Like you're a
Yeah,
young guy. It'd be different if some of these guys, if they had the injuries, and they're 25, 26, and they're still looking up. Like you just basically are like coming out of college now, and just
yeah.
starting here. So
I mean,
that is,
that's what I tell myself. It's like, well, if I went through all this in college,
yeah,
it'd be a lot tougher place to do it because I know how much the Cardinals have like invested their
yeah.
time in me and wanted me to get better. And I don't know if you get that at certain colleges.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it was a blessing. I remember we talked about Minnesota and stuff at the time and different things. You ever look back and it was like maybe it was a blessing I didn't go play college and I just went straight to the pros?
Yeah, I mean, money wise,
Yeah,
you got to take
yeah,
it. Um, Opportunity wise, I think the Cardinals have done a really good job. I could always say like,
mm-hmm.
oh, I would have done better if I went to Minnesota.
Yeah,
There's also a good chance that I would have done worse, and then I wouldn't even be playing. Like I would have been sitting the bench my junior year, and if that's the case, I wouldn't be going to pro ball after my junior year either.
What do you think like the transition has been like? Because you've been here, you've done it for a few years. I feel like, do you feel like acclimated and accustomed, and like talk about like the day and day life?
Yeah,
That's,
my first half season, I didn't talk to anybody.
yeah,
I was 18-year-old skinny kid that like I did not.
yeah,
I was so nervous. Everybody else was at least 3 years older than me, except for Josh Baez, who was my roommate, who was also another high school kid, and then all the Latin guys were
and
about
you
my
talked to
age.
Cho. I remember. What was it, Cho? Is that
Yeah, so
Cho?
Cho came in
Yeah,
2022.
with
And then we
Jake.
had like Jake and my other roommate Etchray, who were
Yeah,
my
yeah,
age. But I mean, I didn't start talking to them for a little bit my first half season, so I literally just like
yeah.
wouldn't speak to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then you like know more and more guys, and then you like slowly become looser, and you're like, it's like when you're able to talk to more players, you're like, oh, this is a lot more
Yeah,
fun. So then now in low A, um, just like in the dugout during the games, I
yeah,
have like half the team I can like have a really genuine conversation with because they speak
yeah,
English first language.
yeah.
Um, or they just know English really
Because
well.
that was like the thing we talked about for you when you were playing rookie ball is like getting acclimated to all that and being English a second language.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
like I was confident in my abilities playing in rookie ball, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a bummer when you
You
can't
can't
really
talk to anybody.
you can't,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's like those are all good
Yeah.
dudes. All the Latin guys are really good dudes,
Yeah.
and they're funny dudes. And like you can have a
Yeah.
connection with them, but we could never have this
Yeah. No, you
conversation with
couldn't.
anyone
Yeah.
with I guess most of the Latin players, and that's not a dig to them.
No,
It's
yeah.
just the
It's
reality.
just the barrier you have to deal
Yeah.
with. I mean, this might be kind of like a stupid question, but since it's been a little bit since you're down here, do you feel the pressure to move up, like quicker up to different stages in pro ball?
When I first came in, yes, because I was like, I want to go. Like in 2022, I was like, I want to be Palm Beach this year,
Yeah,
high A next year, and
yeah,
double A, and then triple A, and these like I want to do it in 4.
yeah. Because I remember we talked about that
Yeah,
back in
and that
the
that path is cool. Like that's a
yeah,
really really
yeah,
good path.
yeah,
Isn't that what puts me at like 23 at my major
yeah,
league debut? Like
yeah,
that's so young.
yeah,
And so then that didn't happen clearly,
yeah,
and so now I just kind of see it as, and I think the way I should have seen it is just kind of like it doesn't matter to me
yeah.
what level I'm at anymore as long as I'm pitching.
Hmm.
And then when I'm pitching, it's it shouldn't be I want to get moved up right now. It
Yeah.
should be I want to be the best pitcher I can be at this level.
It's more like the process and
Yeah,
I think like it probably has matured you a lot. Whereas like when it is your time, you're like I'm a pro. I've done this. I've seen it, and it also helps you're in Jupiter, where the headquarters of the Cardinals. I bet that's a big help for you.
yeah, and I just kind of wish that in the past couple of years I would just been like, all right, like shoot, I'm in extended spring training. That
Yeah,
sucks, but it's like the only thing I can do from now is just pitch well in
yeah,
extended spring training.
hmm,
And I think my mind was like so far
yeah,
ahead. And then I'd get injured or tweak something out, and I was like, shoot, well, I ruined my path and all this stuff. And then,
hmm,
like honestly, even if I did go
yeah,
one level per year after this year,
yeah,
like I would still be in a great
yeah,
situation. And at the end of the day, I always tell my this is the thing that I always tell myself to like make me feel better is like when they make that 30 for 30 on me
yeah,
in 15 years,
yeah,
it's gonna be a lot cooler now that I went through a
yeah.
bunch of shit. Or
Because you
sorry,
had to
went through a
deal
bunch
with
of
that
stuff.
as like an 18, 19-year-old kid. You're from Colorado. You got your cross country.
Yeah,
That's a lot to deal with as a young guy.
yeah, and I was thinking about the other day. It's like you just learn
Yeah,
as you know, you
yeah,
anybody it doesn't matter
yeah,
towards me. You just kind of learn as you go, and you make a whole lot of mistakes, and
yeah.
hopefully you learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, I was wondering. So like with youth baseball, do you think? I feel like so many kids now they play so much. Like there's tournaments every
Hmm.
weekend. They're playing, high school. I feel like there's never a stop. Do you think that's why you see so many more injuries in baseball and different things, or do you think it's just it happens? Or
I think first and foremost, injuries are going to happen
yeah,
because, as we talked about earlier, baseball isn't
yeah,
natural, and when
yeah,
you do it at 100 miles an hour,
yeah,
it's like it's like telling an NFL running back to slow down,
yeah,
you know. But I think there's like yeah, as a kid, trying to think of like what mine looked like. I think the most important thing for injuries as a kid is to not play baseball spring, summer, fall.
yeah,
If I could go back and do it again, I love baseball. I mean,
yeah,
if you told me to play
yeah,
every season, I would.
yeah.
I probably wouldn't do fall ball again.
Hmm.
I don't get me wrong. I had some of my most
Yeah.
fun times in fall ball, but I think if you can go play soccer, go play football, go play
Play
basketball
another
during that
sport.
time,
Yeah.
I think like one, it's just more fun. Like,
Yeah.
and I think those make you a better baseball player. And two, it just gets like kind of if you threw a ton in that summer,
Yeah.
then then don't play. But I would say if you're a hitter and you're like, shoot,
Yeah.
I didn't play a whole lot this summer, say because
Hmm.
you weren't that good on your team or
Yeah.
something like that, and you just need more reps. Oh yeah, I would say go play fall
Hmm.
ball. Or if you're a pitcher that didn't pitch a whole lot,
Yeah.
then you can go play. But if you just taxed your whole body that entire
Yeah.
season, then yeah, don't play fall ball.
Do you think it also matters when people learn pitches like a curveball and different things for kids, especially younger?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Um,
with your arm? Because I feel like throwing,
I'm trying to think.
like when would be the time to learn some
I
different
think I
pitches?
learned my curveball at 11.
Yeah,
I think I did it by learning, like going on
yeah,
YouTube,
yeah.
and that's what
That's
every
great.
kid's gonna
Yeah,
do. I think, yeah. I think the most important thing is just having a proper ramp up.
yeah. Hmm.
Don't start your throwing a week before the season starts. I would say and I think my youth coaches did a really good job of
Yeah,
this, especially because like my dad was my youth coach, and I
yeah.
think he did a good job by starting practices in January and
Hmm.
everything. And then when I was 13, 14, we had a bunch of former pro guys who were dads that were our coaches, and they did such a good job of like you're going to play on the weekends,
Hmm.
and you're going to and you're going to throw a bullpen on Wednesdays every
Yeah.
Wednesday, and then you're going to pitch on the weekends, and it was just like such a
Good
good
man.
progression
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
learning how to like I don't know, just take care of yourself. And then before that, we threw a bunch of bullpens before the season.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of curveballs and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like everybody talks about how the sweeper, like
yeah,
that's a new
yeah,
thing. Apparently, that puts a ton of stress on your arm.
yeah.
I throw one, and
Yeah.
so like
Because you see the careers of pitchers, I feel like it's hard for a pitcher not to have a major injury at some point in their
oh, they
career
will.
anymore.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say they will. It
No.
is likely
Yeah.
that
It
they
is.
will.
Yeah.
Um, but curveballs and stuff like there's such a good like a
Yeah.
healthy way to do it, and I think learning the healthy way to do it
Yeah.
is
The
the
problem is
smart
there's
thing
just
to do.
not good coaching everywhere. I feel like that's
Yeah,
where the injuries really come.
yeah, and I think a lot of old school coaches are actually really good at teaching it the healthy way
Yeah.
because they dumb it down
Hmm.
so well.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Do you think Shohei is ever gonna pitch again, or you think?
Yeah, I think he will. I
Yeah.
don't think you can not pitch him
Yeah. With the
again.
money you've
He's
spent.
unbelievably good
Yeah.
at baseball.
Yeah.
He is like
Yeah.
you give him $700 million
Yeah.
dollars.
He's got to pitch.
I don't like to me. I
Because
don't
where else would you
care.
play him in outfield?
Yeah,
What's his other position? I don't even
I
know.
think it has to be right field
Yeah.
or a first base situation.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's a closer or a starter.
Yeah, you
I
gotta pitch
honestly,
him.
I honestly just want to see him pitch
Yeah,
again.
yeah. He's not.
He's so good.
Do you? So this is like I don't mean this to sound like rude, but like the state of like baseball. So
Hmm.
you go and you're like in rookie and you're in single and you go and like I'm like some high schools they're bumping with like baseball games and then you
Yeah.
go for the first couple levels and you don't have the fan engagement as you want. How like is that like hard to transition to that from like going to play like say you play college or high school or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that?
We just had this conversation in the dugout with a bunch of guys. So
Yeah,
I always say the most fun baseball I've ever played is high school
yeah,
baseball, just because you have like your school, um, you got your school friends in the stands, you got your mom and dad in the stands
yeah,
all the time. It's so fun,
yeah,
and your boys are like
yeah.
always up, and it's like
No,
no one
yeah,
ever sits down during the game.
yeah,
And then you get the rookie ball. Obviously, you're playing on the backfields. You're not even in a
yeah,
stadium. It's really hard. It's really hard to stay engaged because it's
yeah.
like it's noon on a
It almost feels like
Thursday,
a
and
scrimmage at times when you're in the
yeah,
backfield. So in
absolutely,
my
absolutely,
opinion, yeah,
yeah, I would agree too. And so that's why it's so hard to like lock into like that game mode.
yeah,
And in low A, you're in a stadium. It's a really nice stadium anywhere you
yeah,
go, but there's not a whole lot of fans. And we had a game. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday this week. It was a 3-3 game, something like that. 3-3 game in like the bottom of the eighth or top of the ninth. There's like runners on base, like really, really
yeah.
key
I was
situation.
there. I was
Yeah,
at the game.
yeah, really like
And
really important situations, and it was dead
dead.
silent.
And then like you have like a big thing, and then there's no one like.
Yeah, it's like oh, like
Yeah, yeah,
good job, man. And so
yeah,
like I was like talking to one of my teammates. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
college was not this,
yeah.
right? And he's like, oh, dude, like you're in like a
If you go to like Tennessee or some of those huge schools where like it's sold out, like, it's
yeah.
crazy.
And I'll even like watch videos on YouTube. It's like earlier this year, of just like even JUCO baseball
Yeah,
like recaps of the games, and even those guys are like
yeah.
they're in the game, like invested.
I feel like it switches though, because like the AAA, the Clippers are in my town, the Columbus Clippers, and like it's always busy and it
Uh huh.
feels like that. But I feel like when you're like down here, it's like hard to get that engagement. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
like
say once you get to the pro ball level, it's like the fans are more in terms of energy for the game. The fans are more involved,
yeah,
and then because the players are playing 130,
yeah,
140 baseball games a year.
yeah,
It's hard to be like so amped up all the time. But
Do you think the amount of games? Because like I obviously it's in major leagues. It depends on how the team's doing. Like I go to the Marlins game last night, and it's dead. Like they don't have the upper deck like open.
Yeah.
Like what do you think like baseball needs to do to like change that or get like people back into it a little bit more? Because I feel like
I don't know.
yeah,
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like from a perspective, they need to have like more fan weeks or stuff like that, where like they need to get more engagement with like
Like
players
the
to
players
fans.
weekend
Yes, like
when they
players
have
weekend's a
the
great
game. I
idea.
love that
Like
one.
I think doing stuff like that, like no offense, but like the jerseys are terrible this year. Like if you ever felt like the fabric it's awful. Like having more like throwback jerseys that would be cool and just different things like that, like nights and have I don't know, just like get out in the community a little
Yeah.
bit more because I feel like you see a lot with like NFL cares, like at least players are out there doing stuff for like an organization, just like getting out there a little bit
Hmm.
more. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I, I don't know. The uniforms I can't speak on because I know there's so many like weird regulations
Yeah,
and they have like
Cooper, like they had the game out in where the Field of Dreams, like that's sick. Like doing
yeah, I
stuff
love
like
that kind of
that,
stuff. Yeah.
like NFL goes to like London. I can get up at 9 a.m. I can watch a sporting event. Like that's the
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Rockies and Astros just went to Mexico, which I think is fantastic. The thing about baseball right now is it's growing
Yeah.
in certain parts of the world. There's going to be, in my opinion, I think there's going to be a lot of Japanese baseball players to come over, especially
No,
after,
yeah.
what was it, like the two or three that came over this year and signed
Yeah, the one guy with
millions
the
of dollars.
Cubs.
And he's doing insanely
Yeah.
well.
And
And
then
then
who was the one other?
Yamamoto for the Dodgers,
Yeah.
he came over. And I think there was a guy for the Giants as well who signed.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking.
And
Yeah, yeah.
he's doing, like, everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
And, dude, Japan's just got good baseball.
Yeah.
It's they have really good baseball players.
Yeah, if you even watch, like I used to watch the Korean like baseball league on ESPN,
Yeah.
like when nothing's going on, like that's
Yeah.
quality.
And then in Korea, the
Yeah.
Dodgers and Padres played
Yeah.
earlier this year, and I think that was
Yeah.
sweet. I think like
Doing
I remember
stuff
watching
more
those
like that. Because I feel like when you have so many games, people get lost. You know
games.
what I
Or like the
mean?
dog days of July. August.
Yes, like
Yeah.
those are like the hard days. Whereas like other sports, there's so very. And I think NBA is the same problem. I think
Yeah.
the in-season tournament was a great idea
Mhm.
for them because like no one's watching basketball in
I didn't think it
November.
was going to be good, and I thought it turned out well.
And it was good because like I watched the championship game. Like I never would watch a game in
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Just more stuff like that. I feel like
I think per
helps.
stadium it matters too. So Rocky Stadium, Coors Field,
Yeah,
they had the top deck, and it was like
Yeah.
you'd get fans there in 4th of July. You don't really get
Yeah.
unless in the playoff game you obviously
Yeah.
get them. And they're like, all right, well, let's just like knock out one of the top sections and just make it a rooftop bar. And
yeah.
now everybody hangs out up there during
No,
the
that's
game, and I think that's like
Make it fun.
and
Yeah,
people are like, all right, I'm going to go to the Rockies game. Like,
yeah,
of course, you want fans engaged in the game, like wanting them to like
Yeah.
watch, but also you kind of just want fans at the
you want people
stadium.
there. You want the noise to
Yeah,
hear around because
Yeah.
that amps you up a little bit. And the thing that baseball does better than anyone though, they do make it affordable for people to go to a game.
Yeah.
I feel like more than any other sport.
yeah,
So, I don't know, I was just wondering about that because like you definitely see it's like growing like a lot.
which I think is good. I think it's growing, but it's growing. It needs to grow more. It's becoming a country club sport.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. And I think the reason why basketball is so big is literally anybody can go play basketball.
And you see, I think it helped a lot is that you have European stars come over to America,
Yeah,
like Jokic, you have Giannis, like that gets other countries involved. Like if you like now the Olympics this year is like, oh, like we need to put
it's gonna be
LeBron,
sick.
we
Yeah.
need like our A team to like
I
win
think
this.
and then what's sorry, not to stop
No,
talking
yeah.
about baseball, but I
Yeah.
love talking
Yeah.
about this. I love Olympic basketball because of you have your NBA style of basketball and then you have your European style of basketball. And I think the NBA, I
No.
truly believe the NBA, that team, like the Team USA,
Yeah.
is the most talented team in
Yeah.
the world. But it's so cool that when they go face like Spain or somebody,
Yeah.
like it is not an easy game
No, it's-
because they are so like such a different.
It's crazy. Like
style
Rick
game.
Pitino was talking about it on the Barstool podcast. He was like, I went over and I coached in Greece and I forgot about the bounce pass even existed.
Yeah.
And he's like, I went to St. John's. He's like, I learned a whole new style. And he's like, I just implemented what we did in Greece the second half of the season. We won. He's like, 4 bounce passes before You know, you take a shot, like stuff you just don't see anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of like individualized basketball, and also like you hear Jokic talk about. He's like, "What's it like playing in the NBA?" He's like, "Dude, I played in Serbia. Have you seen the videos of, like Serbia basketball?
Mm-mm.
Like, it's I gotta show you after this. It's like insane, like crowd surfing. It's nuts."
Yeah.
And they're like, "There's no pressure here."
Well, then Luka Doncic always says that like scoring is easier in the NBA than he was
Hey,
back in
yeah,
the league that he was playing in Europe.
I agree. I feel like the defense is hard. I feel like that's actually like the old school basketball. If you drive in, you get an elbow to the fit. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like more of that type.
I think European basketball is really cool because I think when I think of European basketball, I think it's more like closer to college basketball. I
Yeah.
love college basketball in the sense that like it's not a whole lot of one-on-one pick and roll offense. I
Yes, you
think
have
it's
one player, but for the most part, the rest of the team, it's
yeah, I think it's really
yeah.
cool. And I'm not the one to be an expert on
No, yeah.
basketball and
I
just
just
kind
like
of the
chopping
play
up
style.
basketball.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think
That's why the United States, I feel like, struggles sometimes in those events, is because it's very individualized. It's like Durant's like, I'm gonna get my 30, I'm gonna get, and then you look back and you're like, you know,
yeah.
it's still it's a lot closer game than you ever imagine.
Yeah, you'd think that USA would just
You
roll
think
through, but it
LeBron
doesn't.
and Durant and all now they got Embiid's playing for. You think all
Yeah,
these guys,
yeah.
and it's just like not
But I
the
think it's
case.
awesome,
Yeah,
and I think the World Baseball Classic is awesome.
yeah, that was. And they did a good job putting in Miami. I feel like Miami was a good spot for
Yeah,
everything because you get a lot of those Central America countries and
yeah.
Caribbean
And
and
I
stuff.
know like when they hosted in Japan for their regional, like
Yeah,
people showed out for that.
yeah,
Um, I just think it's so cool, and I think a lot of people watch. As
yeah,
we just started talking about, like
yeah.
the more you can get people to watch,
The spot it really needs to grow is like Europe more baseball because
yeah,
there's not much there. That's the big market in my opinion from there because Asia is like it's just going to keep
yeah, I
growing, and
think
then obviously Central and South, America,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
already
yeah.
very huge.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool if like France, Germany, even England, like
Yeah,
if they could get like cool baseball teams going,
because
like
they struggle to put a team on. They have so many like exemptions
it's
to
all
get people.
Americans
Yeah,
with English parents or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all exemptions for like some random. I was gonna ask you, what do you think makes like a pitcher dominant?
Shoot. What makes a pitcher dominant? Um, throwing strikes,
Yeah,
obviously. That's a big one. It's like it sounds so dumb, but like if you really dumb it down,
yeah.
throwing strikes like can't strike a guy out unless you throw two for like you throw strike one and strike two.
Does having like a good connection, you think, with the catcher matter a lot? 'Cause
Oh
that he
yeah,
knows like what how to get you out of a slump if you're pitching three balls in a row or
yeah.
something like.
Okay, dominant pitcher. I think is confidence, and I think as part of that comes with your
Yeah,
catcher. It's like there's been a lot of times where you kind of with the catcher you're not on the same page, and he's
yeah,
throwing down like you might throw down a slider, and you're
yeah,
like, dude, like, and every pitcher has like an idea. They're like this is what I want him to throw down right now, and if he
yeah,
throws down something else, you can be like, all right, yeah, like that's a
yeah.
good idea too. And so when you're like on point with your catcher, you're like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Even if you think like I want to throw a fastball right here, and you throw it down,
Yeah,
throws on a slider, and you bury one, and he
yeah,
swings and misses, then it's like, oh, I have a lot more confidence in him, and just like that good connection.
yeah.
It's so fun. Um, I think yeah, confidence and just like knowing that all your pitches are going to be
Hmm.
good. Throwing strikes is a big one. I think going with confidence is being competitive.
Yeah,
I think I had this gag that I call it a confidence fastball,
yeah.
and it's like everybody talks about like, oh, I got 20 inches of ride on my ball, I
Hmm.
got 20 inches of sink or
Yeah,
something like that's what makes me have a
yeah,
good fastball. I personally believe, yeah, it's like those are
yeah,
things that you need. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's just like how how much do you want to throw it by that guy?
yeah,
I think if you throw a fastball with less confidence, I think the hitters see it too. I think it just seems like it comes out slower out of your hands.
yeah,
Even if it's the exact same speed, it's going to sound so stupid, but if it's the exact same speed and you just don't have like that little like oomph
yeah.
into it, I think it's like you're bound to get hit.
And yeah, it's kind of like it's not going like off it, but like for me when I'm watching more like in the summer, I don't see like as much enthusiasm and like the confidence for pitchers. But then like playoff baseball, you get the fist pumps. Like I feel
Uh-huh.
like that's one thing like showing that more like
Yeah.
would get you into it more. Like it's hard when you're watching, an Oakland A's, Marlins game, and it just feels a little mundane at times. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
then that's like that hard like to get into that
Yeah,
game atmosphere. And I think playoff baseball, as I think you've seen it, especially with
yeah,
a good example is the Phillies.
yeah,
Good pitchers who are really competitive
yeah,
come out in the playoffs. Like Nola and Wheeler, I know are fantastic
yeah,
pitchers, but if you looked at like their playoff stats versus the
yeah,
regular season stats last year against better teams, like
yeah,
I think I don't know the exact numbers and I could be wrong, but like they
yeah,
were good.
yeah,
And so I think like Garrett Cole in the
yeah,
postseason has been
yeah.
unreal. Like I think those type of guys, those are like
I love it when you see like bases like loaded, strikeout, and the guy just gives like a huge fit like that. I
yeah,
feel like that just like is like one of the best things like in baseball. It's like a tense situation, you get it done,
yeah.
like it amps the team up. Like
It's
seeing
like
that more would be
and it's earned too. It's
yeah,
like it's not just like
yeah,
you said, it's not a July game where it's the second inning and you're like
yeah,
you strike a guy out and you're like getting all pumped up. It's like, oh, like that is the most pressure
yeah,
situation ever when you
yeah.
got 50,000 people looking at you.
I would argue that's probably one of the most pressure situations all of sports. It's for the pitcher. Like
Yeah,
it's basically one, you and the batter. Technically, you have the catcher, I guess, in
yeah.
there with that. But it's you got to
It's one
throw
versus
some.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, and nobody else can help you out there. You know what
yeah.
I
And
mean?
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
That's
That
the hardest part.
I feel like it'd be remiss not to talk about like Jake. Is he playing in Australia
Yeah,
now?
so he played in the Winter League out in Australia. Um, Jake, if you're watching this, hello.
What up, Jake?
FaceTime me
Yeah,
back. And he played catcher and he played outfield a little
yeah,
bit. I know he threw some bullpens as well,
yeah,
trying to get picked up as a pitcher. And I think
yeah.
he threw some in front of some scouts that
'Cause
were
he's
out in
still like
Australia.
20. He's still young.
21 now.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
a little bit
21.
older than
Yeah.
me,
Okay.
but I think his plan is just to stay in shape and play in the
Yeah.
Aussie League, and then just try to play in all the Team Australia teams as
Yeah.
well in the future. And then hopefully, if he gets the chance to come back,
Yeah. Come back.
then come back.
How hard is that to like? I mean, it's part of the job you signed up for, but seeing like your friends go and
Yeah,
everything. I mean, that's with anything in life, but like, I feel like baseball, you guy gets called up, you're friends with him for 6 months, and
yeah.
he's gone and stuff like that.
Yeah, and spring training, like you see your boys every
Yeah.
again, and you hang out with them, and then you like text each other during the
Yeah.
season. So you're still boys, even if they get moved up.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting released, yeah, it's like Jake and I still talk a lot just
Yeah.
because we were really good buddies,
Yeah.
and I really do enjoy talking with Jake.
Because you guys
I'll
did
always,
that whole year, those couple years of life together.
yeah, and I'll always see him as a
Yeah.
really good friend. We always
Yeah.
joke about like
Yeah.
he'll be at my wedding,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll be at his, and or even just like going out
Yeah.
to see him in the off
Yeah.
seasons when we go visit each other. But yeah, like there's also a lot of guys that got released that I would have talked to every single day in
Yeah.
the field that I don't really talk to anymore, just
Yeah.
because it's just like school, man. It's like say one of your boys
It's like high
transfers
school
or
and,
something
or
like
like
that.
high school, like you
Yeah,
just don't.
yeah, exactly.
There's people that you were cool with and you saw like in the hallways and you'd hang out with every once in a while, but then and when you break it down, there's 5 or 6 guys you talk to after that stage of life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and it's like it's just like you said, it's just life, but it's also it's the worst days, and I feel like we had a lot of those days this year.
Yeah.
It felt like for about like 2 weeks straight, you didn't know who was going to be next,
Yeah.
and then you like every couple of days, 2 guys would be gone, and you could tell like
You feel tension more in the room.
yeah, you could tell like because we know in the clubhouse we know who's going to go up to you and say, hey,
Yeah.
we had talked to you in the office, and so
Yeah.
it's nerve wracking, and then you hear about, and it's the worst is when you hear about some guy
Yeah.
who you're boys with, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, he's already gone. And you're like, oh, like I wish I
Yeah.
would have been able to say something to him
Yeah.
at the end. But everybody's time's gonna come, man. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's
Yeah.
in low A, rookie ball,
Yeah.
double A, even the bigs, like at
Yeah.
some point. And I think after that, a lot of guys are like, all right, I don't want to play baseball anymore.
Yeah.
Go do that, man.
Go
Like,
do something else. Yeah.
that's fine. And then if you do want to play baseball, I think those are my favorite stories.
Yeah. The guys who come back, they go play somewhere else.
Yeah.
For a year.
Like we had a guy in my draft class, name was Brian Pope, really good dude.
Yeah.
And gets released by us. Everybody was kind of like that was weird. Like he's
Yeah.
really good. Gets picked up by the Mariners now. He's
Yeah.
playing for them. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And then there's also guys that are like, I get released. I'm gonna go play indie ball for a year and like
Yeah.
really like finally just give it everything I
Yeah.
absolutely have. and then they get signed, and then they go play in the bigs. And I think I love those. Like those are incredible stories.
I love going and seeing like not like I forget what it's called, like the independent, like the North Carolina League. You know what I'm talking about? Like those guys that go play like for the Morehead City random team, and they have a good year and they get signed by somebody, and now they're back in. I think stuff like that.
I think it's so cool, and I think
it shows you love baseball. If you're going to play like independent or stuff like that, like you actually care about the game.
Yeah, and I think it's like the whole idea of like I know this one guy who went to my high school years before me, but he's still playing after getting released, and he's going and playing in Germany. He's going and playing in Canada, or like even the Indie Ball League with Canada and the U.S. I think what I always said was no matter what, I want to make the big leagues. That's dream number one, and then from there, wherever baseball takes me, I'm gonna let it.
It's a cool life story.
If I would love to go, like use baseball as a way to let me travel the world.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's with an MLB affiliate, but even if it's winter ball, like I would love to go play in Australia.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun. I would, if there's a chance to go play in Mexico at some point in time, the DR, like anything like that, I think is incredible.
Yeah, because you get to visit and meet all these different people. And it's cool.
And if I still think I have baseball left in me, then I'm gonna play baseball.
You play as long as you can.
I think there's only, I'm sure we talked about this on our last podcast, and I think it too as an athlete, that you only got like maybe till you're 35 to like truly give and even that's a stretch. So you might as well, like, I understand there's like
the clock's ticking on all
other things in life are going to come up, like your family and kids and everything like that. But like selfishly, you only got so many years.
Yeah, like my shoulder's already cooked. Like I'll never play at the level I'm 21. You know what I mean? It's like it's different for everybody and different things, and you never know because like somebody might be able to play till 40 and some guy might be able to play till he's 29. It's like you see all these like weird things. You know?
And like I know, like your shoulder's cooked right now, but I also know that you would still go out.
Yeah, I still go play. It's the great thing is I could always play. It might not be at the level I once was able to, but like still play for fun. And stuff.
And I don't think the average person understands that it's like it hurts a lot to play any sport.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Yeah,
but it's like at the same time, that feeling when you are playing is I don't know, I haven't really felt a whole lot that came close to it.
Yeah, there's very few sports. Like golf is one of the few that you could go out. Have you started playing golf down here?
No, I don't play golf. I'm horrible at golf.
I'm surprised you haven't been down here for a couple of years now.
I've gone like my dad is a golfer and he tries to teach me, and every time it's just it's brutal. But no, I would, if I could magically make myself better at golf, I would do it. But I'm just not invested into it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna like. Where I'm at now, like my dream is like be able to play at a level to help like my son or like daughter for tennis or like any sport. That's like why I stay in shape and like still can play anything, is because I feel like once you get to a certain thing, your next phase is like I want to be able to be an athlete when I'm like 40 or something, with my kids and some,
Oh, it'd be so cool if it'd be so cool to be the coach. Like my dad was my coach from basically T-ball to 12U. If I could do that for my kid,
that'd be so cool.
I think it'd be incredible, and I think I have enough baseball knowledge to take him past 12U.
Yeah,
I'll give my dad more credit in the world just because he learned a lot because he didn't play baseball growing up, or he did, but not like in high school or college. And then he learned a lot, saw what he saw from my brother's team, a couple of years older than me, and then like did it with us. And then at some point when we were 13, he was like, "I've taken you as far as I can take you. Like I think you should go play for someone else now." And it's like I feel like if I could take my son or daughter in any sport further than that, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing I didn't learn in any of the sports I was coached by anyone was like preparation. And I feel like that's the difference I would have. Like coaching is how to, like the preparation is really like everything. Like what you put in, like making sure you get to sleep, making sure like you're there an hour and a half stretching, like that, like stuff like that is how you maintain the body, and like stuff like that is, I wish I would have taken better care of that earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I have this like dream in my head that I have 3 sons and they all play baseball.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about, like, do you have an older brother?
No, I'm an only child.
Yeah, so I had an older brother who's 2 years older than me, and you like almost see everything that they do first.
Yeah.
And then you do it 2 years earlier than they did. And so like having like even like an older cousin and like who is
Yeah.
like even like 4 or 5 years older than you, and you like look up to them, then you just see like what they do in order to be like a
Yeah.
good baseball player, good
Yeah.
tennis player, any sport, and then
Yeah.
you're like, shoot, like I should probably
Yeah.
start doing that.
This is a really stupid question, but my buddy was asking us when we went to your game. So he was like 5 hole hitter in like high school at a good team that went to like the state championship. Like not like, but not like he's like a D3, like not like a good D3, but like an okay
Okay.
D3 like hitter. He has 100 at bats against an average dude in single A. How many hits is he getting?
100 at
Like
bats.
he's not like it's not like when you're not talking about like a bum who's like never plays. Like, oh, I can
Yeah,
get
I
a hit.
understand
He's like he can play baseball, but he's not like at that level. Like
metal bat or wood bat?
uh, we'll do metal because that's what they use.
Yeah, metal
So
bat. He'll get more. 100 ABs. So that what was that? What was like 10 hits would be a 100 average. I'd go from like 5 to 8
yeah,
maybe. Um,
because we were wondering because like I know it's early in the year, but like a lot of guys in Jupiter like the averages were super low.
yeah,
So we were looking at that and we're like, wonder how much like a D3 like okay player,
yeah,
not like insane, but like can play
yeah.
baseball.
Wood bats make a huge difference. Roger Jean makes a huge difference. The stadium just because no ball flies.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'd probably say he'd probably hit 050
yeah,
if that. Um, you know, sometimes you put a barrel in the ball.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes you do.
yeah. We were just wondering about it, but one thing I was wondering, so like I'm not trying to bring back like the injury, but it got me like thinking about things. Is so since you've had the injury past, are you pitch count monitored like pretty heavily like in games
Yeah,
and
like
like
my rehab that started this season was all backfield live BPs or
yeah,
live ABs, or whatever you want to call it. So basically, no fielders,
mm-hmm,
just me and the hitter.
yeah,
And at first we'd go 1 inning, 20 pitches. Then you
yeah,
go 2 innings, 15 pitches
yeah,
each, and then you do that a couple times. And then when I got to the game, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna throw an inning. Perfect.
yeah.
Can't obviously monitor an inning. Like I had 11
So
pitches.
I didn't know if it was like a strict thing where it's like 15 pitches, no matter where you're at, like you're done after 15
No, I
in the
think it was
game.
like 1 inning. So the rule we have with the Cardinals is you have 1 inning, and this is a rule for everybody.
Yeah,
If you reach 35 pitches, you have to get pulled. That's it. That's like that is an
yeah,
organizational rule,
yeah,
which I think protects us a lot.
yeah,
And then so obviously you didn't get to that point, and then the next game would be like, all right, you have 2 innings.
yeah,
If you get to, I think my count probably would have been like about 40.
yeah,
If I got to 40, they probably would have pulled me and everything like that.
yeah.
Um,
So it's like the latest thing is that just like since you haven't been able to pitch in so long, like in games, like it's just like maintaining and like making
yeah,
sure an injury doesn't happen.
yeah, exactly. And all of our starters are on pitch counts to start the
Yeah,
season. So they all started out with probably about 55, 60
yeah,
pitches. And now they're all at 90 pitches.
yeah,
And I don't think they'll go past much past 90,
yeah.
maybe 100.
Because the game's not like back in the day. People would pitch 9 innings. Like
Yeah.
if you look Big Red Machine, like they would go 9 innings, as many pitches. Now it's like if you're going over 100, like it's starting. You'll
Yeah.
get bold.
And it's one thing to do in the big leagues when you are
Yeah,
trying to win baseball
yeah,
games. And I think we're obviously trying to win baseball games at the low A level, but I think the organization also sees like, is it worth throwing a guy 120 pitches in order
no,
for him to throw 9 innings, or is it like, let's cap him where you want to cap
yeah,
him, and then just
yeah.
and
Because the
just
club's like it's
keep
nice
him
if
developing.
because the club's like, yeah, it's nice if we win a single A championship, but like we don't want him gassed or
We
his
don't want to hurt
career
him.
like
Yeah,
before he's even in the pros. Like,
exactly. And that's the weird thing about minor league baseball. It's like it's not. The managers want to win every single game. I
yeah,
believe that through and through. They
yeah,
do a fantastic job of that.
because that's how they get moved up themselves.
And
Yeah,
just things like that's like they do.
and they just want to win.
Yeah, they want to win. I think that's what you need out of a manager. Um, but during the game, it's a little weird. We were having this conversation earlier. There are some individual sides of the game where
Yeah,
it's like there might be a situation where you need to hit a ground ball to the right
yeah,
side. Like that is the best way to move a guy over.
yeah,
But in order to win the game. But what's better for your career is like
yeah,
you're trying to get an
yeah,
extra base hit, and so you might
yeah,
be sacrificing um, a run for the team, but
Yeah.
but it's like you can't really blame
And
someone
it's
for that when
competitive within reason for those guys.
yeah, and when you can't really blame someone because one, it is a business. When you
Yeah.
get to the Pro Bowl level, it is a complete business,
Yeah.
and like numbers are what gets you
Yeah.
moved up.
And it's weird because you have rehabs. You'll have guys, with you guys. We're like, I see it more with the Marlins because they're so close. They'll bring a guy in for a single A game. He'll hit 2 at bats and just walk off the
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
Like won't even stay for the game. It's what I mean. You don't see that a lot.
yeah, and I think it's like seeing how the sausage is made is at the minor league level.
Yeah.
But you know, you also have your boys with you.
Yeah.
Like we're all really good teammates. No one's rooting against each other at all.
Yeah.
Not that I know
No.
of.
Yeah.
You may not like a guy, but
Yeah.
you're not actively being like,
No. No.
hope he gets
Yeah.
shelled today, bro.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, it's not like
Yeah.
I mean, we are. If you do well, you are going to get beat
Yeah.
up. It does not matter. Like
That's what I feel like in any level of sport, like anyone can relate with that. If you're rooting on like somebody's downfall, that's where you've messed up.
and I
Because
think that's just bad
it's
karma.
yeah, because it matters on like at the end of the day, the only thing you control is your own individual performances.
Yeah.
You're banking on somebody to have a bad day for you to get moved up or
Yeah.
anything like
You will not get called up to the bigs
No.
because he did bad.
No,
You will get
yeah.
called up to the bigs if
Yeah.
you do good.
yeah.
So it doesn't like, and so you just like you wish the best for everybody else. So
What's it like being in arguably one of the best or growing into one of the best divisions? Like, you look at the Reds. Like the Reds are all young guys, so they're going to be really good in a
Yeah.
couple of years. Like
yeah,
like Matt McClain's been out, but like they're going to be good. Like Elway, they got Steer, they got some of
Mhm.
those guys. You look at the Cubs. Cubs are only going to get better, I think. Really,
Yeah.
they're picking up a bunch of guys. Brewers are never a terrible
Mhm.
team. Obviously, your organization's always competitive. You
last
look at,
couple of years have been tough, but
but like it's always one of those teams you think about. It's one of the premier teams in baseball. Like
I still think like our lineup is so good.
yeah,
I don't think they're showing it, but
no,
I think if you look at our lineup, we have the Arenado and Goldschmidts who are obviously
yeah,
they're good. They're amazing baseball players,
Yeah.
and they've shown that like because they're veterans. Then you have so many young guys that you can honestly like put them up against the Reds. That like the
Yeah.
Reds have a bunch of really good young guys.
Yeah.
I think the Cardinals have a really good
yeah,
young core. Like I know Jordan Walker just got moved down, but he's
Yeah.
really good. Nason's really good.
Yeah.
Tommy Edman, like Ben
Yeah.
Donovan, all those guys are such good baseball players. They're just not showing it right now.
yeah,
And so, like, it's weird that they're in last place,
yeah.
but I know they could easily be in first place right now
Yeah.
too.
Because like you look at it, and I mean it's the thing about baseball. You look at the AL Central, and you have some teams, for lack of better words, that just you don't see like 10 and 30 teams in the Central. You know what I mean? Like the Guards are not one of the best teams to be. I'm a Guards fan,
Mhm.
but they play in a division where they have more opportunity to win games, in my opinion. You know
Yeah,
what
that's
I mean?
usually how it is in that division.
Yeah, and I feel like the NL Central is like the Reds haven't been good, but now they're starting to be good. So is it like put more? I don't know how to word it. Is it put more pressure to be on top of your game because you're when you get there like that division, if you're not on your A game, you get shelled.
I wish I could say yes, but honestly,
No, yeah,
like
yeah,
I think all of us are so focused on our own stuff
yeah,
that, and we're still a little bit of ways.
Yeah.
That it's just like, and then once we all do make it to the big leagues,
yeah.
like,
Then you'll start thinking
and then
about
it's like,
the
and I don't
guys.
think it really matters if you played in the worst division or the best division. Like you are still going to go out there and try to
Yeah.
play the absolute best baseball you can.
Do you have like before like games? Do you have like a report on like the guys and like I know I seen like big leagues guys have stuff in the back pocket of where do you guys have it at this level as much like where to throw for this guy more and is it not that
The fielders have a card in their pocket at all
Yeah.
times, and they know where to shift
Yeah.
guys accordingly. The pitchers, on the other hand, at our level, I know
Yeah.
the bigs, they probably have
Yeah,
like
they
a
have
huge scouting report.
analytics? Yeah,
For us, it's like we'll talk about each hitter, not each hitter, but like we'll talk about some hitters in the mornings.
Yeah.
Before we play catch, it's
Yeah.
like, hey guys, like watching the game last night, you could tell the 5-hole
Yeah.
literally cannot hit a breaking ball.
Yeah.
So let's just hammer him with breaking balls. And then like as more games go along, because we play the same team six
Yeah.
times in a row.
Yeah.
So by the end of the 6 games, you should know what to throw each guy
Yeah.
based on how many at bats
Hmm.
he's had. And so it'd be more like that. But we know we don't have a card where we're
No,
like,
because you also see a lot of the guys. I mean, with them making it where it's like a whole week you play a series. Like, say you're pitching like day 4, you've probably seen the guy on hitting like
yeah,
3 or 4 times now
yeah,
yourself.
exactly. And then they've seen all of us
Yeah,
too. So
yeah, that's kind of the crazy thing. I was gonna ask like we kind of briefly touched, but like, what are your individual? Oh, if you need,
no, I'm good. I'm perfectly
okay,
good.
you're good.
Yeah.
What are your like individual goals for like the year?
Just stay healthy, man.
Yeah.
That's always will be number one. Is just pitch. Like that's like,
Hmm.
obviously my goal. And then from there, like yeah, that's honestly the expectation for
Yeah.
myself, and that's what's been so hard is not pitching.
Yeah.
And after that, I always like to think I have very high expectations for myself.
Yeah.
I think a 2.5 ERA and below is what
Yeah.
I want to do. I want to have at least one strikeout per
Yeah.
inning, and I'd rather have it be more like a 1.5 strikeouts per inning.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you working toward being like a reliever? Quote, like, what's your goal?
I was the past couple of years I've been built up as a starter, and when I
Yeah,
got moved up, obviously they couldn't put me in that role
yeah,
because I was only built up for one
yeah,
or two innings, and so they were like, "We're going to build you up."
yeah,
Before I had a little setback, and so and then from there, like I might have been out of the pen for
yeah,
the rest of the season, or you know, you just never know because something maybe they would have built me up, and maybe
yeah,
some guy would have gotten moved up, some
yeah,
guy would have moved down, and that's where you slide in the spot right there.
yeah,
Preferably, yeah, you always want to be a starter
yeah,
because you always want to pitch 6, 7 innings
yeah,
a game, and you
yeah,
always want to know exactly when you're
yeah,
going to pitch.
yeah.
But I think at this point in my career, I'm just like, I'll take
Wherever,
whatever innings I
wherever
can
I
get.
can play,
I'll take,
do
and
whatever. Yeah,
I'll do it as best as I can to prove that I
yeah,
should be a starter. But at any given point, I just gotta prove that I'm a good
yeah.
baseball player.
I remember this was like what, honestly, probably was like year and a half, 2 years. We went fishing out, and I asked Jake about any like the older guys that he talked to, that he learned a lot. He talked about Yachty. Have you had any? What's like you talk to a lot of the major league guys, and like, what's the best piece of advice if anyone's given you if you've talked to any of those
Yeah.
guys?
In terms of the Cardinals guys, I'd say Dakota Hudson, who's with the Rockies
Yeah,
now. He was in rehab my first year coming in.
yeah,
He was amazing to me. He like truly like cared what I
yeah,
had, like all the questions I had
yeah,
for him. And then Jason Isringhausen is a special advisor for us, so he
yeah,
roams our
mm-hmm.
big leagues and the minor
Yeah,
leagues, and he is one of
yeah,
the best pitching coaches I've seen.
yeah,
And he's a Cardinals Hall of Famer.
yeah,
Those guys are awesome. I'll go home in the off season. I'll train with
mm-hmm.
some big league guys who are you know who I think are
Yeah,
fantastic. And I think the best advice they probably give is just um, I think they slow it down so well.
yeah,
I think like Izzy like Jason Isringhausen, it's like the reason why he's so good at coaching is because he doesn't complicate anything.
yeah.
He's like, I think in terms of baseball and training nowadays, there's just so many things you can do,
To overcomplicate it.
and
Yeah,
you overcomplicate a lot of stuff.
mm-hmm.
But if you truly just get back to the basics and master, I think the complicated stuff is really good for
Mm-hmm.
you once you've mastered the basic
Yeah,
stuff. And I think it's with everything. I think
yeah.
like all these kids,
I
like
did that
growing
a
up,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
growing up and just like playing baseball as a kid, it's like everybody wants to look like Nolan Arenado, but Nolan Arenado is also insanely good at the
that's what I
basics.
was. That's what I was saying. Like when I grew up, I would all these like tennis players. They have such. They look like on TV such like crazy swings,
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I want to be as like. So many kids are like, I want to be Rafa, and like, have you seen the dude? Like nobody's gonna be like, this dude's like an animal. Like
yeah,
no one's gonna be able to hit a grip. Like he literally hits like reverses his wrists and does all this stuff. Like my coach would be like, listen, just take back the basics, like short, compact swing, like feed off people's pace, and then once you get to a certain point, then you can build that up. But like you see these guys on TV, and it's not realistic at a certain point in time, I guess.
yeah. And I also think it's like it's all that stuff comes from just like this, like the repetition over
Yeah,
and over again.
yeah,
It's kind of like the whole like the Bruce Lee quote: "I fear the man. I don't fear the man that practices 10,000 different kicks. I fear the man that practiced one kick 10,000
yeah,
times." I think that's like such a good mindset to have. It's like, yeah, you can try like I like I'm not the one to talk about
yeah,
tennis, but like you can try all these crazy stuff, but at the end of the
yeah,
day, if you're only practicing
Yeah.
stuff that you're going to use in the game routinely only once
Yeah.
a day, like you're probably not going to get a whole lot better at it.
Yeah, I feel like the best point in like my career, I don't know about like with you, is like when you have that feeling where you're consistent,
Uh-huh.
it's nothing flashy, but like you're just consistent and you like that's the best feeling in the world. Like you play some of the best in any sport when you're just like I go out there and you feel good because like you've worked on something so much and it's like you don't feel like in my sport you could miss. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think the closest I felt to that is probably back in 2022 at the end of the season when I was pitching in rookie
Yeah.
ball. I was like, I just took the mindset. I was like, I know I'm going to throw 90 to 91.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything crazy, but I'm going to make it the hardest 90 to 91 you've
Yeah.
ever seen. And I was just like, I'm just going to be competitive because
Yeah.
I don't have the abilities I know I can have right now.
Yeah.
So how am I going to make up for it? I'm just going to
Yeah.
be really competitive. I'm
Yeah.
just going to, pitch. And then shoot, man, I
Yeah.
just felt like
Yeah.
there was nothing I couldn't do wrong. I just
Yeah.
kind of kept going.
Yeah.
And so that's always fun. That's the best moment
Yeah.
in sports.
I wanted to ask because I feel like no one really asked, but for you, growing up as a baseball fan, what was your favorite baseball memory? Just like watching as a fan perspective.
Watching as a fan, there's a good Rockies versus Cubs wild card game. Tony Walters hits a base hit in center, and that was a
Yeah.
game-winning run. I think that was when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Um, best baseball memory. Do you have one?
Um,
I'm trying to think.
Probably. I mean, my favorite game I've ever seen didn't end up in my favorite was the Cubs Guards Indians game. Remember the
I
World
do.
Series?
Rajay Davis with the home run.
That was
then,
yeah, that was best. But like for me, like my favorite movie is Field of Dreams because like my grandpa was baseball, like grew up in baseball, was a coach, went he umpired and like getting to have one last catch with him was like one of my dreams. He passed away suddenly. And I feel like baseball like is a sport you can very much connect to.
Yeah.
And like more than any sport, like you know what I mean? And that's my favorite. That's like my favorite movie and one of my favorite like things. Like I always watch that movie if I want to like
that is such a good movie. I love that movie a lot.
But
I love a lot of baseball.
The guards one with that was probably it didn't end up in my favorite series, but that's insane.
I feel like I'm missing one. Obviously, there's ones I'll never forget. The David Freese home run against the Rangers. Like that's everybody's gonna remember that one. I've watched I was 1 year old when this happened, but I've watched like the Yankees Red Sox 04 series.
I have I have the shirt when they won.
The Red Sox, the down 3-0 and then come back. Like I've seen that, like because I've watched it 30 for 30 a million times. But in terms of like baseball memories like that you have with your grandpa, I mean like high school baseball will always be some of the best memories I'll ever have probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like looking back like just on baseball like I always remember like Brandon Phillips. You remember Phillips with his swing, like and then I remember like Prince Fielder, like just like guys like that. I just like think about.
That was a good era of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I just like all those old guys. And the last one is like that. Like Votto is one of the last guys from that.
I love Joey Votto. I think he's awesome.
Yeah,
I think
it's crazy the Reds didn't keep him. I always thought that was wild.
That was sad.
Like he's a lifelong. It's cool that he did get to go to Canada of all places with Toronto, but like.
Joey Votto's he's a really cool baseball player because I think he still has adopted the whole like I'm not gonna say the new era of hitting is bad because I'm not a hitter, I can't say that, but he still is like I want to one hop the center fielder every single at bat, and when he's doing that, he's at his best hitting.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys more are chasing like home runs more than any like when they're during their at bats. You don't see as much like that's why I love watching Quan. Stephen Kwan.
Yeah, he's a really good baseball player.
Yeah, because he'll just he just wants to get a single. He just wants to get on base.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I love that. You just
I think it's super cool, and like I'm gonna sound like an idiot if I criticize hitting because dude, if I was out there, I couldn't touch the ball.
No, it's crazy. Like that's what I was sitting behind home plate at the game on what was it Wednesday, and like just seeing the pitch and like the movement on it.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm like, dude, you have me. I don't think I could go 3,000 times to hit the fucking ball. Like I'm like, dude,
it's hard.
Like, and you see some of these like major leaguers, and you're like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
how did it? The movement's just insane.
I think a really good example of that is I'm gonna get his name wrong. Something Miller for the A's. He throws like 103,
He
104
came on
miles
the
an hour.
pod, Mason Miller.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he came on right when he got drafted, a long time ago, and he had bad injuries growing.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And I think like seeing that, and you're like, how in the hell can you hit a ball 104 miles an
Yeah.
hour? And like, not only could you like at some point in time, I think a lot of good hitters are good enough to be like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on time for this 104. It's hard. It's insanely
Yeah.
hard. But then you're also like, I'm gonna get on time for this 104. Then he also might throw me an 88 mile an hour slider.
Like Chapman, like how did like back in the day, like prime Chapman with
I
the
don't know.
Reds, like it's insane.
I think that's why I think that Rajai Davis home run in the World Series is one of the craziest
Yeah.
home runs you'll ever see. You see him, he chokes up about
Yeah.
that far up
Yeah.
the bat because that's the only way
Yeah.
you could hit it, and then just got the barrel on the ball.
It's
and it goes out.
it's literally insane. But no,
But that's with Velo. Like no matter what, Velo will always be king
yeah,
in the sense that it will always like be harder to throw, or it will always be harder to hit a 95 mile an hour fastball versus a 90 mile an hour fastball. I think
yeah,
if you had the same metrics, there's some 90 mile an hour fastballs that look a lot harder,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of 95 mile an hour fastballs that look slower.
yeah,
But if you look at the same metrics, you will always be tougher to hit if you throw harder.
yeah,
And then also your breaking ball stuff's going to get harder too.
yeah,
And so when you throw a slider at 90, which is insane to me that anybody
Yeah.
does that, versus 83,
yeah,
it'll always be harder to hit.
yeah, just because of the movement and everything on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to like take up too much time. I appreciate you doing this. Like,
Yeah, of
always
course.
like
I love talking about it.
always coming back on and like love having you on always. And I appreciate like your friendship and everything for
Yeah.
you and just coming on. And, hope to keep having you on in the future and
Yeah,
stuff,
man.
man. I appreciate it.
I love
So,
talking about it.
awesome. Well,
Absolutely.
appreciate it, brother.
Sounds good.